Jenna Elfman and Steven Schneider from Imaginary Mary. Can you guys tell me about the show?
Yeah, so Imaginary Mary is about a career woman, me, who she's very successful but wants nothing to do with relationship or kids because she had a very rough childhood with her parents fighting and divorcing, which led her to create this imaginary friend from a little drawing that helped get her through her life. And then it went away when she became an adult. Cut to present day, I fall in love with this charming, funny man.
Garbage.
Even though I don't want to have a relationship, I can't help it. And then as it turns out, I have no options. As it turns out, he's divorced with 3 kids, which is like kryptonite to me. And in this stressful moment, realizing I have to actually meet his kids and engage with them, my imaginary friend from childhood comes back to help guide me through the process.
Oh, nice. And were you guys ever like fans of Drop Dead Fred when she also gets in that mental breakdown and sees her imaginary friend?
Yeah, I was aware of it. You know, there's a Jimmy Stewart movie. There's Al. I mean, there's like so many variations on a theme, but really that's 3 in the history of entertainment, basically. So I was aware of it, but there was differences in the story, so it didn't have some meaningful impact in terms of me navigating my choices on this show.
Yeah. And what were the struggles of like trying to? Was it like to work with an imaginary character? Was there a person there that you had to work with, or a doll, or anything?
Yeah, so we had a puppet and a puppeteer for rehearsal, and figuring out where Mary's moving in the space when we're figuring out the scene, and then they take her away, and I film with nothing, just a memory of where she was. And I have to remember all those dimensional eye lines, lateral eye lines, while also doing the scenes with them and making it funny and not forgetting my lines.
And tell me about your character.
I play a single father of 3 delightful children, and I have full custody of the kids. So it was very cool to be able to play a single dad who has custody of the kids. I don't really see that very often.
It's not on TV. It's like,
and so from his perspective, he's like, I need a woman here. And not just for himself, but also he wants his kids to have a mom in the family. And he falls in love with Jenna, her character Alice, which is obviously very easy to do. Who wouldn't? And then it becomes the balance of trying to merge those 2 worlds and hoping that it doesn't implode.
And is this the characters that you play? Because I remember you in Broad City. So how is that show, working in that show? Will we ever see the
sex?
Different
sex.
The difference is in Broad City, I got pegged on screen. For this show, I got pegged off camera in order to get the part.
And will we ever see
Not by me.
And will we see that character again in Broad City? Or was that the end? This might?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you so much, you guys.
Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure meeting you.
Me too. Thanks.
We are here with executive producer Patrick Osborne, who's also worked with Wreck-It Ralph and also Big Hero 6. So how'd you come up with this project?
This came after my short feast at Disney. I was going around meeting different producers around Hollywood trying to see if we could make stuff together, which is what you do when you have a chance. And I met Doug Robinson, who's the other executive producer on this, who's right here. And he and I sat down and he's like, what kind of show would you like to make if you were going to make a show? Which is a great question for producers to ask. And I said, I miss these 80s whimsical family shows with like Alf or like Harry and the Hendersons, or so could we make a weird,
Like that girl that was a robot?
Yeah, there was that one, yeah.
I
There's
forgot
a lot
what
of
show
strange
that
ones,
was, yeah.
So it seemed like it would be fun to do something like that, and he introduced me to Adam Goldberg, who was a big fan of that type of stuff too, and then Adam introduced us to David. And from there, we had a little team. We could start to figure out what the story would be, and I thought it was kind of fun.
And was it hard creating the imaginary friend? Was it going to be a person or a creature?
It was always going to be a creature. We wanted to do it, full on weird, like Labyrinth or one of those 80s goblin-y things, Puffball. So it started there, and then it was going to be really mean at first, and we designed the first character to be a little monster. But then we changed.
Not like how Drop Dead Fred, where he was kind of super who cares about anybody but himself.
Yeah, he's very selfish, that's for sure. It has a lot of Drop Dead Fred in it, for sure. But we thought about that, and then there's stuff like Bing Bong, Imaginary Friend, and Inside Out.
Oh yeah.
And there was a show called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends a couple of years ago. It was all about different types, so I thought it's out there, this kind of story. But the idea of doing it for a family show where it's a real looking thing that's in the show was something that we can only do technologically recently.
And like with your guys' approach, like you guys are doing something different where there's a single dad with 3 kids.
Yeah.
Like what made you guys go through that route? Was it because that's pretty much kind of like the norm nowadays? People
It's actually David's true story about his life, so you can ask him a little bit about that.
Wait, he had an imaginary friend?
No, but he's
Still
a single dad with 2 kids who met a woman who didn't want kids.
Oh, okay.
Or wasn't exactly excited about the idea.
So you're basically gonna go through her struggles, like whether she's like in for the relationship and not, and then she has her old time friend.
But ask him about that and don't tell him that I told you. Just dig it. You know?
Okay.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. We are here with everyone's favorite TV mom, Wendi McLendon-Covey. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for talking to me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Like, I'm a huge fan of your show. I just love you. You're my favorite character. I love how, like, you, like, curse.
Moms curse. I'm sorry. They pretend that they don't, but I've heard, my parents used to swear like pirates and then say, "Where did you hear that?" Like, oh, gee, I don't know. Not my own kitchen.
And where did you get the influence of the character?
Before I took the job, when it was still in pilot development, Adam Goldberg actually showed me a couple of his home movies, and just watching that family, I thought, I get it. I get how to play this mom, and luckily, she's happy with it.
Like, she's so out there. I love it.
Thank you.
And do you have like a favorite episode in the whole the series that you're in?
So far, one of my favorite episodes that I keep going back to is the one where little Adam has his first slow dance at the school dance, and Beverly has already shown up to the dance in an outfit that matches her son, because that's not horrifying. And she's the one that gets everybody up and dancing. So Beverly's shimmying around the dance floor, and all the kids, because they're in junior high. And when you're in junior high, no one wants to dance until you show them.
Yeah.
So she gets all the kids up and dancing, and then the slow music starts, and he starts dancing with his little girlfriend, and she's standing at the window just crying, because it's like, oh, my baby. A girl is touching my baby. Like, it was that thing where, like, he's growing up and you gotta let him grow up, and I don't know, it was a fun episode to shoot.
And is there any 80s elements that you like to bring in the show, like they hope to cover?
You know, they're all hitting it pretty hard, and the thing about the 80s elements is that that's not really what we base our show on. Our show is really character based, but the nostalgia part is used as a point of departure for a bigger episode. So I'm going to leave that up to Adam, the creator, because whatever was important to him is what we'll do a story about. So,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Matt, nice to meet you, man.
This us over here?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in it or not. Are we
you
good?
in it or not? Is he in it?
Scoot over. Now we're just really intimate.
We are so in it now.
I'm here with Kevin Smith. How you doing today, man?
So good, you?
I'm doing great. I just got here like less than an hour ago.
Me too.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
traffic, right?
I think I was behind you in traffic going, fucking move, I'm late. Yeah, there was a bit of a hold up getting in here, man. But now that we're here, it's all wonder, no con.
Yeah, and I didn't even know you were going to be directing an episode. Well, I knew you were directing an episode of the
They told me
Goldbergs.
10 minutes ago. I was like, right on. Yeah, I did.
And I just got credit for it, and that was it.
I did. I was like, and that's honestly probably close to the truth. Like, you get credit for directing, but like, I didn't really direct the episode. Like, those cats, they all know what they're doing. Like, in front of the camera, and the crew knows what they're doing behind the camera. So you can't change the look of the show. You can't change performances really, because they all know what they're doing. So really, you just stand there and they give you a check to watch them make the Goldbergs. You know, you're like, all right, folks, that's a wrap.
Well, you've been jumping from like The Flash, Supergirl, and now on the Goldbergs, and it's a perfect episode. It's called The Dynamic Duo.
Perfect. When I saw that script, Matt Amira, who I do a podcast with called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs, he's a writer on the show. And he said, would you ever want to do an episode of the Goldbergs? I said, yeah, oh my God. So I said yes, not knowing what it was. And then when they gave me the script, I was like, oh my God, this is the best episode for me to do. I can't fuck this up. So it was kind of perfect.
And with that being said, you also are writing the third part of your Batman comic book. It's
Yes.
6 issues?
6. Well, it was originally 6 when we conceived it, but we might go 12.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, we've got 3 issues drawn, and they've been drawn for 5 years. We started them before the TV show Comic Book Men happened. So we've had 6 seasons of that show, and the book got put aside. So Walt's got 3 issues done, and now we just want to reconfigure the back half of the story because we decided to go to hell with the story.
Okay. So it was originally Batman the Butcher.
Yeah, it was Batman Bellicosity. That's what it was called.
Yes.
And he was going to be like Batman Unleashed Mad and stuff, but the storyline goes in a different direction.
Now, is this going to be outside of continuity? Because first when you guys were writing, it was like New 52, and it was kind of outside of it.
When we started, there was no New 52. We were in the old universe. And then New 52 happened. And I remember asking Dan DiDio, I was like, well, ours isn't really New 52. Like, what do we do? He's like, you're the last one in the universe. Turn the lights off. So I was like, oh, my God, we can do anything. And so now...
I think it technically all counts.
Universe, everything might count at this point. They'll never count my shit. But regardless, it feels like we waited long enough for it to make sense now. Like if we had done it during the New 52, people might have been confused, but now people will be like, oh yeah, I remember that story.
Well, back into the TV show, what was your favorite part of actually directing it?
Of Goldbergs?
Yeah.
You know, seeing an episode early, I like the show, period. So, like, getting to see an episode, like, read the script months in advance, see the episode come together months in advance, and, you know, yes, have some kind of input, like, ooh, that was great, or can we do that again, or whatever the fuck. So, the best part is, like, you get to see the show before anybody else. Like, you know, there's one point where I hadn't seen the Goldbergs and I had 3 seasons to catch up on. And then suddenly you're in real time, like everybody else. So this gives you the chance to be ahead of everybody else. You get to see some shit in front of people. That's it.
And then you got to be quiet for like months on end.
That's the only problem. Like, I got so many cool pictures of Shawnee in the Michael Keaton costume, of George dressed like Adam West Batman, of Troy dressed like the Joker, of the cars turned into the Batmobiles that I've been sitting on for months because I can't put them up until the episode happens. Now I'm going to dump them all.
Do you feel like maybe you've been conquering a lot of the comic book stuff, or maybe venturing into the Flash anytime soon? Or not Flash, Arrow or Legends?
They would have me in a heartbeat. I saw both of those showrunners last weekend at the Paley Fest. I did the CW panels for the Paley Fest. And so I saw Mark Guggenheim, and I saw the guy that runs Legends as well. And both of them, we had chit-chat about jumping over there. So I would love to. Hopefully next season, if they got an opening, I'll slot right in.
And last but not least, do we have any updates on the Jay and Silent Bob movie?
We start in August, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I'm on draft 3. We've been touring, you know, me and Jay kind of go out and do shows all the time. So we were in Detroit the night before, and then Chicago last night, with a big sold-out show. So we were like, let's try some of the material out in front. So we read like a big scene, 10-page scene in front of the crowd. And I got to hear like where it worked and where places I could cut. But it was phenomenal. So yeah, I'm using the audience now to kind of sharpen up the script, because I'm like, who else is going to go see this shit except these people? So I might as well use them to gauge how it's working.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And then,
I'm here with Jeff Garlin, also Murray from the Goldbergs. How are you
Yes.
doing?
Comics After Dark?
Yes.
That's cool. So, what's the premise of your site? Like, what's your site about? Comics,
Pretty
but,
much comic books.
But you say
TV.
After Dark. Is it all comics? It's just the name?
It's comics and like obnoxious.
Yeah.
Comics and obnoxiousness?
And the language is it's bad.
Okay, it's After Dark. All right.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I love comics.
So the children's one of.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite comic?
Well, right now I just read, and this has been for a number of years, anything by Ed Brubaker. Sometimes we'll read alternative comics. I wish I loved anything by DC or Marvel. I don't anymore. On occasion, I'll be like, oh, that's good for a while, because I would collect Marvel from like the 60s and 70s, even into the 80s a little bit.
So are you excited about this upcoming episode, the dynamic duo, when are pretty much covering the Batman 1989?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for people. I haven't seen it, but I think it'll be great, But it was fun filming it.
Yeah. And also, you have also done a podcast recently with our good friend Dan Fogler.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did Dan Fogler's podcast in my basement.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was great. Me and Matt enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It was like hilarious, and I was wondering, are you gonna be, since you're talking about you do stand up?
Yeah.
When's your upcoming show?
I do stand up all the time, and where am I playing next that people could actually? Oh, I'm playing here in Los Angeles at a place called Flappers. It's a horrible name, but the best club, April 7th and 8th, and April 14th and 15th, I'm going to be at Zany's in Rosemont, outside of Chicago there. So yeah, I'll be those places, and that's it.
All right, people should catch him because he's
People
a really
should
great.
catch me. You should.
And do you have like a favorite episode in the Goldbergs?
Favorite episode in the Goldbergs? Gosh, no. No, I like them all.
You like them all. And
Yeah.
what's your favorite part of your character?
My favorite part of the character is, you know what my favorite part of the character is? This is going to sound so lame. He sits in most scenes.
Yeah.
I love sitting. I don't have to walk anywhere. When I have to get up from being seated, it's upsetting. So yeah, it's a great question. I've never thought that. Favorite thing about it is sitting.
Nice. And is there any 80s element that you would like them to bring into the show?
Well, I'd like them to, the music sometimes, that's not my kind of music. In the 80s, I listened to like The Clash or Prince, something more edgy, but it's not my show.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I do what it's Adam Goldberg's story to tell, and that's my job.
All right, great. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for
Hey,
the
you
time.
know what? I have a comics in the morning website,
Oh, yeah.
and I hope we don't clash.
No.
Thank
I
you.
know about that.
very
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Hey, you guys! Sorry. Hey, you guys, we're here. Why am I saying we're here at WonderCon? You guys already know we're here at WonderCon. But I'm here with an amazing writer. And he shrugs his shoulders. He doesn't give himself enough credit. The man, how long have you been writing behind Transformers, now that I think about this?
It's about 7 years, I think.
7 years. John Barber, everybody. Yay, we got a crowd. Our co-host Nando, we used to make fun of him constantly for liking Transformers, and then he gave us, I think it was Sins of the Wreckers.
Okay.
No, Last of the Wreckers.
Yeah.
Yes, and then from there we stopped making fun of him, and then we all started reading Transformers, and then we all fell in love with it.
Nice.
And
All right.
it's been years and years since then, and I'm a huge fan of Transformers. But right now, Transformers, the ongoing technically is done.
Yeah.
We're currently now in Optimus Prime,
Yep.
which almost feels like a detective noir now.
Some of it, especially the past stuff. It's definitely has some police procedural dark noir stuff.
Yeah.
It gets pretty dark.
And this is right after a really big event. So how did the idea for Optimus Prime come about?
You know, we were talking about trying to kind of refresh the Transformers books because it was really cool because we're both, James and Alex are on More Than Meets the Eye, and Andrew Griffith and I were doing the Transformers book, and we both pretty much been there since issue 1. We were up to about issue, I think 57 was how far we got, which is like unheard of in 2016, at the time. But we're trying to figure out ways to kind of make it friendly for new readers, get new people in. And the story was really starting to get more focused on Optimus, but there's still a lot of supporting characters, but it tends to be what Optimus does, how it impacts them that is important to them, if that makes sense. So it was kind of going that way anyway, the story we were telling. And then Andrew wanted to take a break, and I love working with Andrew. He's still one of my best friends. But we needed to find somebody that's going to have a new kind of fresh take on it, and Kei Zama was definitely that person. I mean, I'd seen her stuff for a long time, and it was just that idea of getting kind of her together with, do something that was a little more maybe aggressive and military than what we were doing with Andrew. And it really just made sense all of a sudden to do Optimus Prime. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was where it all kind of came together.
Well, it's actually awesome reading Optimus Prime too, because it feels like an old school comic as well, even with the art and everything. So we just concluded the first story arc.
Just about, yeah. We're just sending the last part to print, I think, today.
And that'll be issue 7.
Six, yeah.
And then from there, where are we going to head into with Optimus Prime?
So the next 4 issues, they're interconnected, but they each have a different guest artist. So issue 7 is Priscilla Tramontano, who just did the annual. She's amazing. I actually just found out she colored the whole thing too. The colors just came in; it's beautiful.
Awesome.
And then Casey Collar is drawing issue 8, and it's his first full issue in about 6 years, I think. Something a really long time. Yes, it's great. It's going to be sort of jazz focused. Then Kay's back for 9, and then issue 10 is going to be. I think Kay is drawing the present day sequence, but then the majority of the issue is Livio Ramondelli doing another Galvatron the Barbarian story that flashes back, I think, earlier than we've gone in a story in Transformers history. We're kind of back to the foundation of the earliest Cybertronian civilization.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, how hard is it to make sure that Autobots and Decepticons don't cross over to other universes? Because you guys have like 3 or 4 titles, and I'm sure editors are like, you can't go down this route because this character is being used somewhere else. So is that really hard to make sure, or do they kind of set out the playing field and like, here's the people you're working with, go ahead and go down this route?
We've been at it like in the core Transformers books with between James Roberts, Marguerite Scott, and myself. We've both been going at it for a long time. Marguerite and I share more characters. Like James's stuff in the Lost Light is all way off in space. So we just kind of have to organize, make sure we don't accidentally use the same characters. But we kind of know where all the main people are. And then some of the other ones, they do show up in some of the other books. So it's just a matter of Carlos Guzman, who's the editor on the Transformers books, keeps track of it, and he works on G.I. Joe also. So he knows where those characters are. And like Thundercracker, not Thundercracker. I'm sorry, Skywarp is in G.I. Joe. So that was actually, I think, Carlos and I. We were on a call with Aubrey Sitterson, who's sitting over there, but he was right to G.I. Joe, and Carlos and I were like, hey, have you ever thought about putting a Transformer in G.I. Joe? And he was like, that was my first question. So we kind of all figured out Skywarp would be a good fit. It kind of parallels what's going on with Thundercracker, and it just worked out really well.
Now, you've been writing it for so long. How far ahead are you planning with Optimus Prime?
I don't know the exact issue numbers, but there's been a story, that really kind of solidified. I guess around the time I figured out All Hail Optimus is going to be a story, and Optimus is going to annex the Earth into Cybertron's Council of Worlds. So there's been an overarching plan that hasn't really. The plan itself hasn't changed. I mean, when we figured it out, there wasn't G.I. Joe and there wasn't ROM involved. Now there is, and it works out way better. It works great. But there's an in plan, or a big game plan for an overarching story. What happens at that point, I'm not sure, but we've still got a little ways to go.
Now, you were a huge fan of Transformers when you were a kid,
Sure.
and you played with the toys. What was your favorite toy to play with?
Prowl, that was my first one. Prowl's my favorite character.
Can we confirm that from childhood friend?
False. Metroplex.
Metro, wow. Huh.
Metroplex was my favorite of your toys.
Okay. You know the thing I liked about Metroplex was if you were playing G.I. Joes, you could actually fit a G.I. Joe into Metroplex, so you could just be like a mecha that they had.
Greatest crossover.
Yeah.
One day someone will pick this up. I don't know when or where. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's it.
What are you most excited for readers to see when they get into the next story arc of Optimus Prime?
Oh, man, yeah, I mean, these next issues are great. I think there's so much. The art. When I say they're great, I mean I've seen the art on them. That's what I mean. I don't mean to say that. We'll see how the stories go. Yeah, like issue 6 is the end of the first story, but this is an ongoing series, so there's a lot of stuff that bleeds over. Issue 7 is literally called The Next Day and the Next. So the fallout from what happens at the end, like the issue 6 isn't the end. You know, what I mean, like the story continues. So I think seeing where all those pieces kind of continue to go, both in the past and the present, I don't know. I'm really excited about where we'll be by issue 10. I think issue 9 is going to have a lot of people come in. Issue 9 is called The Life of Sideswipe, and Sideswipe's been injured for a long time in the series. So I think some fans might enjoy that.
Yeah, you should have seen the smile that went on my face right as you said that. Last but not least, where can we find you on the internet?
I'm at the John Barber on Twitter. That's really where I go. I'm terrible at checking Facebook, as any of my friends can tell you.
Confirmed by friend?
Yeah. I don't think I've accepted my dad as a friend yet. But yeah, the Twitter's probably best. See you there.
All right, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Have a
Thanks
good
a
one.
lot.
I'm here with Warren Simons. He is the editor-in-chief of my favorite comic book company, and they're like, no, he's lying. Like, no, seriously, I'm not. It really is my favorite comic book company. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing well, buddy. I like that it's your favorite comic book company. That's a great thing.
Slowly but surely, you guys were the first people to actually jump on Comics After Dark for giving us our previews, and from there it just exploded with the universe that I got to submerge myself and our listeners in.
Awesome.
So, Exo Manowar just dropped.
Yes.
Quite possibly the biggest marketing I've ever seen for a comic book in history.
I think it's the biggest launch that Valiant's ever done. Hats off to the entire team, including our marketing expert, our marketing guru, Hunter Goranson, and our publisher, Fred Pierce, and of course our CEO, Dinesh Shamdasani. I feel like the launch was chugging on all cylinders from the creative side with Matt Kint and Tomas Giorello and Luis LaRosa on covers to the whole team. So yeah, it was a really good launch for us.
Yeah, I mean, for some of the retailers, they got pins, they got rings, an exclusive metal-plated variant, which
yes.
I still have yet to get my hands on, damn it.
It's around here somewhere. It is. There's some booth over here that has it, certainly.
I'm gonna definitely have to pick that up. So, first off, why such the big launch, and why the, I guess, reboot, if you will?
Well, it's our flagship character, potentially our flagship character. Exo's sort of one of the fundamental cornerstones of the Valiant universe. And, you know, we didn't relaunch it. We don't just slap a #1 on a book and say that, you know, this is our relaunch. There has to be a reason why this character, what warrants a new #1. And I think in this particular case, the team came up with a story where we meet Exo Manowar, and he's living as a farmer on an alien planet.
Yes.
And we're kind of trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. The armor's not there. We don't really know what's happening. And what we discover is he's sort of a little bit like William Money in Unforgiven, or William Wallace in Braveheart, in that he sort of retreated away from the violence that's plagued him and followed him his whole life. But then he gets conscripted into an alien army, as it happens on an alien planet. That's at war.
You gotta be a soldier. You're a citizen now. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And he leads a strike team towards a mission, towards a palace that he has to take out. And that's where we open the story. And as it progresses, we'll see more and more, and we'll begin to see that the violence that plagues Eric and follows him like a virus is not so easy to get rid of.
And I might add, like a badass without the armor and missing a hand.
Yes, absolutely. Our writer, Matt Kint's done an absolutely fantastic job here. Matt and I talked a lot about the opening of Saving Private Ryan in this particular incarnation of the book, and you could tell that he put together about a 17-page fight scene, which is just amazing. And it was drawn by Tomas Giorello. Tomas has quickly become a fan favorite artist at Valiant. His stuff is absolutely extraordinarily beautiful. Really a gifted draftsman, wonderful storyteller, and we have beautiful colors here by Diego Rodriguez. So I really feel like it's one of the prettiest books we've published, certainly.
Yes, most definitely. Now, where are we going to go down with Exo in this upcoming series?
So we have really the first year planned out, and a little bit after that. The first 3 issues are going to feature Eric as a soldier, and that's going to be with art by Tomas. Then the next 3 issues are going to be called an arc called General, where he sort of elevates up and becomes a little bit more powerful, having successfully worked as a soldier and gained name for himself among the men. He becomes a general. That art will be by Dougie Braithwaite. And then eventually he's going to rise to the level of Emperor, and that's going to be with art by Clayton Crane, 3 super talented artists, back to back to back. And then we have Miko Soyan and Ryan Bodenheim at the end of the year, at the end of the first year, contributing. And that's going to be our first year, and then after that we have some big events for Eric planned.
You have some big events in general. There's a huge event coming this summer, if I'm not mistaken.
There is a huge event coming this summer. We have the Rapture event coming, if that's what you're referencing. We've got a couple of big books coming out this summer, but Rapture, also by Matt Kim with art by Kafu, is slated for, I believe it is May, and that's going to feature Shadow Man, Ninjak, Tom of the Geomancer, and a whole host of new characters as we journey into the dead side to see that a gigantic army is preparing to basically pierce the heavens and destroy the earth. And Tom of the Geomancer has to bring a group of ragtag heroes from the Valiant universe out, including the Great Punk Mambo, to put a stop to it. So we're pretty excited about that.
We actually seem like we got maybe a slight glimpse of that not too long ago with Ninjak kind of taking on Shadow Man.
Absolutely,
So
Operation Deadside.
This has been planned for a while then.
Yes, we have Matt's done a fantastic job in all the different corners in our universe, including with Ninjak and Shadow Man. So we've been building towards this a little bit, seeding, and it's going to come to fruition here. And we're also going to see Tama the Geomancer, who we haven't seen in a couple of months, and learn what she's been up to.
And we're having some more stuff with Bloodshot getting his new #1 as well.
Yes, and Bloodshot Jeff Lemire is going to launch a Bloodshot book for us in September with art by Miko Soyan and Luis LaRosa, where we see that Bloodshot has a daughter now, and she's 8 years old. And we're going to begin to understand that we open with Magic talking with Magic, who readers will know from the previous run, talking with Jesse. And Jesse's going to say, you know, Mommy, where's Daddy? And she's going to say, Daddy couldn't leave well enough alone. He ain't never coming back. And that's where we pick up.
So where are you getting all these great ideas to continue on with the Valiant universe and make it even bigger building blocks than it is?
Well, we're very lucky to have a roster of some of the most talented writers and artists in the entire industry working with us. We've got Kent, we've got Lemire, we've got Eric Kaiser, who just joined us on Secret Weapons. We have Jody Hauser, who's doing Fate for us. We have Rachael Roberts. We have Peter Milliken. The list goes on and on and on. So, you know, what we've built, I feel, is we've built a really, we're not the biggest publisher in the business, but pound for pound, I'll put our books up against anyone. And I think that we've got a real crew of talented, great collaborators. That's really the key. Our writers are just awesome to work with, wonderful to work with, great collaborators, and they're excited. They're not treating the books as their 4th or 5th project that they work on every month. They're treating it as something which is they're putting their hearts into, and I think you can tell in the books.
Yeah, I mean, Fred Valenti, Joshua Dysart. I mean, the list goes. List goes on and on and on. One of my favorite comic books as well, Archer and Armstrong, which is great. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about Archer and Armstrong and the future of it?
Well, we've got some plans in the works right now. Rachael Roberts and David LaFuente just put together. They launched a book for us about 2 years ago, I think, at this point. And Rachael put together a great series for us with Mike Norton, who did an amazing amount of art for us. We just put together an Immortal Brothers book, which is going to come out. We just sent it to the printer, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, which Fred wrote, which features Ivar Time Walker,
yeah, we're having a three-way crossover,
and Armstrong journeying through the Middle Ages, where they encounter the legends of the Green Knight. The Green Knight comes into King Arthur's castle and says that challenges them all to a fight, and basically says, anyone can take a swing with this axe in my head, but in a year's time I get to do the same against you. And Galad takes him up on the offer, chops the knight's head off, and then the knight starts laughing, picks his head up, and walks out. So Galad has to figure out what's going on. Fred did a remarkable job with the script, and Carrie Nora Druid, beautiful inks by Mark Morales, who's one of the finest thinkers in the industry. So I think it's a really, and great colors by Brian Reber. So it's a really beautiful book. And that's where we are with them. We've got Archer popping up in Faith.
Yes.
One of my favorite books of last year was Archer and Armstrong #5 featuring Faith. And we've got some stuff coming down the pipeline with that team. So
with Jody Hauser on it as well.
Yes, Jody doing an absolutely brilliant, magnificent job on Faith. I couldn't be happier with the response we've had to Faith or the work that Jody's done on it. Really visionary type stuff that she's doing, and the response has been extraordinary.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been following Jody since she did a annual for Vertigo, which was just a nice little something in there, and slowly but surely been building up, and I'm so glad she got the opportunity with Faith to work with you guys. What's your favorite part about being an editor over at Valiant?
I think it's having the opportunity to work closely with the creators to sort of help build and flesh out the universe. That's definitely one of the most enjoyable parts of the job. I'm a fan of comics. I've been reading comics since I was a kid. I've worked in the industry now for about 2 decades at this point. And the free flow exchange of ideas, seeing something come to fruition, seeing something you design get turned into a TV or movie show.
Yes. Which we'll get into briefly.
All that kind of stuff is it's a good job. It's a fun job. It's It's a hard job, but it's a great job.
How much of your hand is in the new Valiant Online universe that's going to be created by Bat and the Sun?
Well, I think that we've got a great team that's taking point on that, including Josh Johns, who's our director of digital, and Dinesh, who's our CEO. I know those guys have sort of taken point on that and been out to all hours of the night on sets all across the United States shooting stuff. What I love to see with that is all the costumes and storylines and stuff like that, and how much we built on the publishing side that's now moving over into Ninjak versus the Valiant universe, and the stuff really looks fantastic. And I know the Bat and the Sun guys have done an amazing job with it. Jason David Frank's been an amazing Bloodshot. Mike Roy's been an amazing Ninjak. The whole team's really been fantastic, and it's been really fun to watch it come to life.
And we just recently got news that the Russo brothers are going to be involved in an Archer and Armstrong project. How did that all come about?
I believe that came about via, I'm not sure how much is out there right now, but I know that information was leaked online. I know Dinesh has worked very closely with them, and the whole West Coast side of things, so he's done an awesome job there. So we're excited about that.
How did it feel when you were like, oh wow, like the Russo brothers are interested in this? And actually, it's not Archer and Armstrong. I apologize. It is Quantum and Woody, which what a perfect team, two brothers to work on a two-brother comic book series. Like, how excited were you when at least the news got presented to you?
Well, like everyone else in America, I saw Captain America: Civil War, and I thought it was extraordinary. I thought the guys did just a remarkable job with it, not just on the action sequences, but on the characterization, the story, and the plot, and the changes they made to the initial book on which it was based, and really just one of the best comic book movies that's ever been made. And anytime you can have a talent of that caliber joining you, it's a remarkable thing. So when we first heard it was pretty remarkable.
Valiant's getting a lot of steam in the last 2 to 3 years. We got a leak as well that I guess Sony has the rights to Exo Manowar and Bloodshot, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they have Harbinger and Bloodshot.
Harbinger.
I think there's a 5-picture deal with Harbinger and with Bloodshot from a few years back, culminating with Harbinger Wars. And I know that the guys are moving quickly on that. And there's been a lot of great progress in that area as well. So it's good. It's nice to see everything coming together and the amazing success that the company's having all around.
Now, out of sheer curiosity, is it just they get the rights to it and they kind of read through the comics and you sit back and be like, I wonder where they're going to go down? Or do they turn to you guys and be like, hey, we need a little bit of help of guiding us down this proper route?
I think it's a very labor-intensive process when you're transitioning a piece of IP to film. And I think that there's no direct path. I don't think there's any one thing that happens that you replicate, but I think that it's a process where basically you're continually revising, trying to find the best idea, the best script, the best actor, the best director, stuff like that. And the joy of my job is that I get to execute an idea with a freelancer, and then 30 days later it's published. Whereas on the film side, it could often take years, and there are many variables that are beyond your control, which determine whether the film gets up and running or the TV show, which is why publishing is such a joy to work in, because you could just have an idea and boom, it's done relatively quickly.
Yeah. So you have to sit patiently and wait, like, come on, what are you waiting for? Do it already.
So lots of different variables, yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to be excited if it really is true that the director of John Wick is actually going to be the man behind Bloodshot, because that's just, ooh, what a great combination that is. What are you most excited for readers to experience in the next year with Valiant Comics?
I think Exo #1 is a great starting place.
Amazing starting place.
I'm really excited about that. I think Secret Weapons with Eric Heiser and Rachael Allen, which we're launching in June, I believe, is a pretty awesome starting place.
You've been really quiet about that?
Yes.
Hence the secret part?
Eric is, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Arrival. Just an extraordinarily incredibly talented writer. And Rachael Allen, who did the Eternal Warrior series for us last year, is on art duties. I think that's going to be great. We've got some stuff cooking up with Faith, which I think is going to be awesome. We've got some stuff. I'm just excited for everything. I really love the medium. I love comics, and I love looking over at our booth and seeing the fans come and someone pick up EXO for the first time and come back the next day and buy a bunch of stuff because they love it, or some of our longtime fans who are really paying attention to what we're doing and enjoying it. So that's great.
Yes, I already bought my EXO shirt. I was able to snag up a gold variant, and I had to grab the golden apple variant as well.
Nice.
Yes, you guys have plenty of my money. Last but not least, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at Warren Simons on Twitter. I've got a Twitter handle. I tweet out lots of Valiant stuff, lots of Valiant art. I'm over there.
Make sure to follow him there, and of course, pick up anything Valiant. I've already been telling you, so go ahead and do it. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hello.
So now that you've slept with the devil,
Right.
will you be sleeping with the Messiah anytime?
No, who am I sleeping with? I don't really sleep with anybody this season, I don't think. In the season finale. But Mom and I do. I know, Mazikeen, everybody, boy, the fans really want that, don't they? But we are both, Linda is strictly, not that she doesn't support anyone's right to love whoever they love. She supports love is love, but she's more inclined to date men, I think. She does have a type. But she does do a little dance with Mom in our season finale. So, in our next 5 episodes, she and Mom tangle a little bit. So.
Wow, and that's not a metaphorical tangle?
No. They get a little, Linda's after, Charlotte's after her, for some information. So they kind of start to work together a little bit. She needs her help.
That would be kind of a fun dynamic, though, since you've been able to interact with pretty much everyone else now, except for as far as our main supernatural team.
Right, and I know that Mom is Mom, that she's the goddess of all creation. So it's interesting.
Well, you've made your way through. You made your way through hell with Lucifer, and then purgatory, essentially.
Yeah.
That's why we had to jump to the Messiah question, but you end up with Mom at some point.
I know.
You're just going straight to the top.
I know, I really do. And then
you're sleeping your way through the afterlife.
Yeah. And then also we meet Dad. We meet God.
That's right. I can't wait for that.
Timothy Amundsen is amazing.
I was hoping for Ed Asner.
I know. That would have been so good. I wish George Burns had still been around. I would have loved to. We had all kinds of ideas for God, but that ended up being like the best choice. For a while, we were thinking we were all wanting John Cleese, so he'd be like a British, whatever. But then, Timothy Amundsen ended up being perfect.
Have you guys heard any backlash since you've casted God the Father? In essence, because theologically you're never supposed to depict him.
Right. Well, it's interesting. You'll have to see what happens with that.
Because before people see anything, they freak out. So.
Oh, always, and we love that. That's great.
It's
great.
Right.
It's a little provocative, yeah. But no, it's. I don't know if people have just figured out that I'm not a Trump supporter, and that also I'm. That they can't really say negative things to on my feed, like as far as social media goes. I think I just don't really respond, but I haven't had any negative stuff about casting God. So.
What would a family session with Mom, Dad, Lucifer, Linda facilitating a family session be like?
It would be. First of all, Linda would be her mind would be the most blown out of all of them. But I think it would be more enlightening for Linda. Like she's like to be able to get them all in the same room is pretty great. So it would be great. But the thing is about that family is it's just like any other dysfunctional family. They all have their histories and things that they don't want to. The grudges and the histrionics where they've held things against each other for we always say years, but for since the beginning of time.
Some theological questions there about how creation was made.
Yeah. Like I love when Mom says, "Well, I don't have to tell you about the Big Bang," when you're they were created. So, but
Linda is pretty much the only one who is, as we call it in TV, she's in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even Chloe doesn't really know, even though she has been told, to her face a number of times.
Right.
So how does that feel for Linda, or how do you convey that so that you realize that nobody else really knows, but they know and you know?
Right.
And you have to play it out as if this thing.
Well, it's she's definitely. We wanted her to be really like the audience. How the audience is feeling, like how you would feel if you found out that the devil really existed and God really existed, and there were angels and demons, and so she is navigating it as best she possibly can. But so there's real moments when she's talking to them and she has to step outside of herself for a second and say, okay, wait, I'm just trying to keep it all together here. But what's great is that they help her, like Maze and Tom and I'm gonna deal. They're very big on remember, just treat me like you would any other person that isn't a demon or that isn't. Yeah.
Now, since the show is very, very well put together, especially theologically and how accurate it is, how has it changed your views or enhanced your views regarding religion and theology?
Well, I think the thing that has stuck out the most for me is that I think the thing that has stuck out the most for me, and that I believe, I'm trying to word this like carefully, that I wholeheartedly support, is this notion that the devil doesn't make us do anything. It's like when people say I was possessed or whatever. I don't believe that. I do believe we have the choice, and that our choices are what put us in hell. And wherever you believe hell is, I believe it's here on earth, and we create it here. Like we're living, like the just choices we make. Like when we feel like we're in hell, I feel like that's hell. When you're caught, between a rock and a hard place, that's solidified for me. A lot more of that, and I feel like it's ultimately a benevolent world, I feel like. So this, I don't know how much, the stuff that I have personally issues with is how angry Tom is at God, all the time. But then the way that I reason that out is, oh, well, I'm not God's immediate family. So it's fine. He can have whatever issues he has with God, and I can have my own belief. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You guys, thanks so much.
Thank you for being so ready for us at
Thank you.
9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm so sorry, too. I didn't mean to say anything about Trump, if anybody's a Trump supporter. I'm very sorry.
How are you? Good, how are you?
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, how's that going to play into the series?
It's not. It's not going to play. I didn't want it to play, neither did the writers. We want to keep Maze as Maze, so we're just shooting her different and dressing her a little different. I'm still in leather pants.
The baby could have been Lord of Purgatory. You have an archangel and a demon.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think I don't know. It would have lessened the character and what we'd done in the series. So women do this all the time. They get pregnant at work. They do their job. Pop a baby out.
Stand behind a bookshelf.
They come back. I'm not even doing that. I'm not carrying anything. No, we just have a very awesome camera department and a very crafty wardrobe department that we just covered it up.
Run scenes will just be your feet, and that's about it.
No, well, see, I was lucky. I didn't really show from the front on too much, so cameras are sort of tricky. From the side, yes. So we just shoot me straight on. We have body doubles if you need wide shots. Yeah.
Okay, how do you like the the scenes that you get, that there's the levity involved. You know, there are so many. There are very strong scenes and very important scenes between Maze and Lucifer and Maze and MTL. But then you get these fun light scenes with Dr. Martin, and you know, how do you play that off? Do you prefer one over the other, or is it just fun to be able to do both?
No, I don't prefer one or the other. I think that's what makes humanity and human beings and like us as people so interesting. I mean, we're not all one note, and I think the boring characters in TV and film are the ones where it's just like, oh, and they're badass and they're always in black leather and that's all they do. I think what's fun about our show is everyone gets to explore different facets to their character. And with Mazikeen, this season, it's how do I make, now that I'm stuck here, how do I make Earth home? Get a job. Well, that entails like funny stuff because I'm the queen of torture. So, oh, I can't do that. I work for the law. Well, what can I do? Can I, so it opens up all these doors and then exploring the relationships, of course, with Dr. Linda, which is such a unique female friendship in TV and so interesting to explore. I love it all. And I think that's actually what's been cool about this entire season is the amount of growth I've been able to have with my character versus the first season. You know, we're as a show, we're still trying to find our feet and what's our tone and how much procedural element do you have, how much supernatural elements can we introduce, yeah.
Does Maze ever forget sometimes that she's not technically human, or is that becoming less and less of a word?
No, I think she's always a demon to the core of her. I think she's just learned who she shows that to. You know what I mean? But she's always going to be a demon, no matter. Of course. It's like in an instant. Screw with my friends, I'll kick your ass. Exactly.
So in the beginning, Maze was just pretty much in servitude to Lucifer, completely devoted. That's all she did. Now, going into this third season, we know that she's got a job, she's got friends, she's sort of built her own identity, and that's had some tension in her relationship. How does that tension continue moving into these new episodes?
It comes to a head in 2017, episode 217. Yeah. With Lucifer and her, because they finally have their confrontation, which there is blood. I'll leave it with that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like any friend, any relationship. You take someone for granted for long enough, and they're gonna just pull trigger and either end the friendship, tell you what's up, or kick your ass. You know, Maze is not one for too many words. She speaks with her fists, so.
Were you pretty satisfied with how that confrontation goes?
Yeah. And it's layered, so it's not just, one note, and Lewis, our director, did a beautiful job of kind of covering all of that. I think fans are going to be really excited and might give them some perspective and insight into that relationship too, like where it's at, which gives us a great jumping board for season 3. Yeah.
Now I asked Rachael this, and I'm going to ask you this as well. The show is theologically sound, and there's a lot of all the supernatural aspects in there and all the theological aspects of there. How has it shaped your view or changed your view in regards to monotheistic religions?
I was raised Catholic, so, Tom's father is a pastor. I don't think it's changed, my perception on religion, or I think personally, human beings, we as a people need to take more responsibility for some of our own shit and not blame it on a guy in a nice suit who owns a bar. He's not making you cheat on your wife, dude. You are. So, but I think especially in where we're at now politically and what's happening in the world, our show in its own fun way highlights what's good about humanity. I mean, Chloe's like the heart of the show. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's a good person who tries to get up, take care of her kid, do a good job. You know, Maze is the character who's like trying to find her feet in the world and like stumbling and falling. Like, that's relatable. Every person goes through that. I don't know. I still believe in the good in people. So.
Big Daddy, here's the shield. I'm going to text my friends on there.
The devil
and
is
be
no
like,
slouch. I'll say that.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Got a great PR team.
There it is.
That's right.
That's always been true.
That's funny.
How's it going, everybody?
Great.
How you guys doing? We're good.
So can you tell us more about this really intriguing, like, extra episodes thing? There's been some talk online. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
So the extra episodes really came from, we had this 18-episode arc that we were always planning, and then we found out that we had 4 more episodes. And they were awesome about it because they basically, like, they're shows that have to, you know, sort of like stick a bunch of episodes in the middle.
Fatten up, water down, the
come up
story
with
a
a second cliffhanger at the end. We've all seen shows do that various times. They just basically said, hey, you guys have a procedural element to it. Could you do some standalones? And at first we were like, oh,
we're a serialized show. How do you do standalones in a serialized show, even though it is procedural? And then it became really fun because we thought of things like X-Files and
Twilight Zone. Like, and we exist in this world where really you can either tell cautionary tales or roms. We've got an episode that focuses on Maze. It's like a James Bond movie. Like we're really just like having fun. And to be honest, like, doing these episodes has really opened up the language of what our show is, and I think we're going to be able to do more shows like this, or more episodes like this, moving forward, because I don't think we have an amazing supporting cast. And by the way, Tom is in these episodes quite a bit, but a lot of them are more driven by supporting cast members to sort of explore their characters. It's an excuse to see more about Maze, it's an excuse to learn more about Amenadiel, Ella Lopez.
And it came at a good time because I think the first season was really about going, okay, who are these people? And now we are just setting up, their quirks, what they do, what they're about, what their goals are. And then this season we really gotten to dig deeply into who they are and on just a much more profound level, and so that's why they've been so fun. You know, like, what would happen if we saw, I don't know, what would happen when the devil first came to LA?
That sounds really interesting. We should
do
that.
Like that very first day.
That sounds like a good episode. And honestly, like, I think we'll do more of these in season 3, just as fun. Like, by the way, they always matter too. Like the Maze-centric episode introduces a bunch of mythology that moves forward. So they were never going to be strictly standalone. The question was going to be the mythology we introduce. Would it either be picked up right away, or would it like sort of be floating in the ether for a bit to be picked up later?
Little mythological breadcrumb kind of thing.
So when a situation like that happens, do you guys tend to go to the comics and be like, what can we find, or is it kind of what would you guys enjoy to put on the screen for us?
Yeah,
both.
Yeah. It was a little bit. It was like literally like what. First of all, what are the kinds of stories you can tell standalone? Like, what's the kind of things that you can step back? And we'd always been teasing Maze working as a bounty hunter, so let's see her go on a mission. That's a very clean one. It's very simple. And then it's like, well, what are the stories we really want to tell? What are the things, like the flashback episode is a very clean, simple way to both tell a standalone and also really dig into our stories. We should do that. We should definitely
do that. Yeah. And it was a complete like wish fulfillment. What do you want to see Lucifer do? Like, what if Lucifer went to, can I say it?
Sure.
Vegas. Like, what if he went to Vegas? Right?
Yeah.
The Devil in Sin City.
Interesting.
What happens there? Let's see. Yeah. So it became really like fun to just imagine, just anything goes kind of thing.
Having said that, we're like, so much of the comic is still so much of our inspiration, and we are still looking at that as a place to blatantly steal ideas. We are hinting at characters to eventually come into the show who are more from the comic. We've been very slow playing it, mostly just because our show has been a very grounded world. It's slowly starting to be a little bigger.
We can get away with a lot more now. We tried to really, and still, I think that the reason why we can get away with more now is because we've set a foundation where it's about a family.
Yes.
It's about a dysfunctional family, and that's something we can all relate to. So building on crazy things like, oh, I don't know, I keep my wings in a trunk with some Russian dolls. Not that weird.
Yeah, not that weird.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is Centaur People Season 5. definitely coming.
Your guys' interpretation of hell, when you showed it, was far more Great Divorce than Dante's Divine Comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love where your brain's at.
Yeah, thank you. Are you going to be, since art tended to imitate, or art influenced theology with hell with Dante and Inferno, and you guys used the divorce, how are you guys going to look to influence heaven with your version?
Oh, that is a good question. It's funny, we haven't figured out exactly how we're going to depict heaven. I guess that's a spoiler that we don't exactly know.
I can say this though, that so much of what hell is, and when we explore religion, it's all about the individual. So hell is what we make it, what we torture ourselves with. It's whatever we feel the most guilty about. That's our punishment. And so I think it would probably work the same way in heaven. What is your what is your happiest place?
Yeah, and I think that's the question that we look forward to exploring at some point, because it's a funny thing of like, because what I love about our hell is that idea that you make your own, which I think is just that's us, that's humanity, that's our metaphor, that's so much what we live. And how do you make your own heaven, or does it operate in a different world because it is a different plane? That's like literally one of the things that was probably on our list of things to play with and try to figure out.
Yeah.
What can you tease us about Father? Timothy's coming in.
Tim Amundsen?
I mean, he's so great on Elfman, so he's very comedic there.
Is he God, though? His name is God Johnson.
His name is God Johnson.
Who's to say who he is?
But what's going to be confusing and you'll have to watch, is that he might not behave exactly like a human. So it's an interesting thing for Lucifer to explore. Is this dad? Is it not dad? Does he hit some of the things in his relationship he wants to explore with him?
Yeah,
yes,
and Mom's on Earth.
I mean, when Mom came in, she wasn't exactly human. He had to keep guessing. Is it similar to that?
That's right.
Exactly. That's the toy to
Some
play
of that,
with.
yeah.
And you've got a guy walking around saying his name is God Johnson, and Lucifer trying to figure out, okay, is this legit or not? And I think that's the fun of it. And if so, well, Mom's here too. Oh.
Yeah.
Real quick, I have one last theological question, because
yes.
the aspect of the mother creator in Judaism initially, her name was Ashura, which was the mother god. Are we going to reveal her at some point as Ashura, or is it going to be a completely different entity with Mom?
We try not to define things in one religion or the other. We try to sort of, right now, we call her the divine goddess. And so she's, when we started the season, we spent a lot of time going, okay, let's see here. If you want to create something, you need a guy and a lady. You gotta, So let's see here. God, if they wanted to create mankind and everything else, I think you'd need a lady in there. And so who is that? Well, she's just the yin to the yang.
It's funny because we played with the Shura, we played with just like the idea of Mother Nature, and ultimately we just came to the idea of divine power, divine presence, and really, because honestly the only name that matters to us is Mom.
Yeah.
That's
and the masculine, feminine energies,
yeah.
That's really all it is, which is also why we spent a lot of time making sure she wasn't going to be just villainous.
Yes.
Because, it's important to me that she just had motives.
Care.
He didn't care. He didn't care. Being a lady. No, but that she just had motives that we can all identify with and empathize with. She wants to be with her kids. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple. Great.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. These are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Hello. This is my son, Caden.
Hi, Caden. Hi. Love your hair.
Thank you.
So the interview's with him, right?
Yes, it is. Please, thank you. So you get all the script approvals, I assume.
Drawing on him, this is live. So how often do people just walk up to you and say, "Hey, Detective Douche"?
Every day.
I bet you love it.
Every day. Yeah, I do love it. I do love it. And I knew, I was telling these guys earlier that the moment I read the pilot, and then we're sitting on the table reading, and those words came out of Tom Ellis's mouth, they rung in my ears, and I was like, everyone's going to know me as that. That's great. Because he says it in such a way that it's sort of imprints itself into your brain.
We're going to do a Lucifer cover band just called Detective Douche.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Detective Dan is... I'm trying to be sensitive take care of people. We've seen him. His story, his arc has been pretty good. I mean, all things considered, because we see him as, the divorce from Chloe. We see him as maybe the bad guy because she saw him as the bad guy, and we saw everything from her point of view for a while. But then as we work with Detective Dan and see what he can do, he's actually quite a likable guy, and we could see how they were together at first. How are we moving ahead, or can you tell us how we're moving ahead with the triangle that we have, seeing how Lucifer and Chloe are getting closer? Is Dan out that you know of? Or
He's not. Dan isn't out of the picture, but he is forced to deal with the natural evolution of where the relationship is going, and you see how he deals with that, how she deals with it. He's still very much in love with her, and I think that's always going to be there. And it's great because they've done a really good job with, writing scenes where there's just a moment where you see, wow, I see where they fit, and then it's broken out. But one of the cool things I think that is happening this season is that they're sort of diving into the world before and understanding, how they met and why they worked in the beginning. So you see them as a younger couple in the beginning. So sort of going back a little bit to sort of fill in the story.
One of the things about Detective Dan is that he is just, he's a flawed guy. He is not a perfect guy at all. He makes bad decisions.
Even though he looks like it.
He's just, he makes bad decisions and he deals with the repercussions of those. Moving forward, how is his decision making? Any big mistakes or any big redemptions coming up for him?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
Through talking to Joe and Ildy, our executive producers and writers, they one of the things that they say is that in the writers' room, everyone loves to watch Dan suffer. So, and to do that because of the decisions he makes. So when asking what's up for season 3, those are the things he says they like to see you suffer. That's going to happen. So, I think you're going to see a lot more of the same, of him making big decisions for what he thinks the right reasons are, and then, getting crushed emotionally, and there's a new relationship with Trisha Helfer, and you see how they connect, and and how that evolves and where that goes to, and the fact that he's sleeping with Lucifer's mom is awesome,
And the goddess of creation.
Yeah, I know, right?
There has to be something emasculating about that at some point.
Not even, because she comes back for seconds. So obviously I did okay.
Exploring Lucifer as a stepson would be amazing.
Would be the ultimate stab in the back.
What would you say has been your favorite moment or scene so far?
I gotta tell you, I really love working with Tom and Lauren. Like, we have just the greatest time on all levels. Like, we're just a bunch of clowns. But I think the most, the one that always sticks out in my head is have you guys seen the pudding, the Stole My Pudding episode?
Yes.
Okay, that was it.
Oh.
Working with Tom and that night, and then being taken over by the Celestial Blade, and practically wanting to kill him because he ate my pudding. It was really, really fun. We had such a great time working. We were working at this amazing house in Vancouver, and it was cold and it was raining. I was a little bit sick, but we just go off on each other and laugh. And I think both of us at the end of the night, Tom was like, "This is why we do this job, is to have moments like that." Because we just had so much fun.
So what do you guys do when the camera is not off? You guys are horsing around now.
Oh, all we do is horse around. All we do. I was just telling a story the other day. We're all a bunch of pranksters, and we came back to LA to shoot, and we were staying at a hotel next to the pier, which is where we're shooting. So I was like, "Hey, screw it! I don't need to be driven. I'll just get a bike from the hotel, and I'll ride the bicycle down the bike path and go." And so I did that, and it was beautiful. And I locked up my bike. And Lauren, while I was on set, Lauren called the hotel and was like, "Hi, yeah, I work on a show called Lucifer, and one of my actors is here, and he forgot the combination to his bike. Would you mind giving it to me?" So they gave her the combination of the bike, and she totally stole it and hid it and filmed me go crazy looking for that bike, cursing her. Yeah.
one of the fun things to watch, I think, is Dan and Lucifer, who obviously are not natural compadres, but
right.
have built this sort of romance.
Yeah, it's strange, right?
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch. Any more of that going on?
Definitely. But this time also more with, like I said, he's, we had that episode where earlier in the year where he says, I'm not Detective Douche, I'm Detective Espinosa.
Yeah.
All right, I'm a human being. He said that was his first moment to be like, boom, and now he does that a lot, and it's even funnier, like that banter, because now he has balls.
Yeah.
So he's like, go ahead, give me more.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys. All right.
Thank you guys. Cheers, that was fun.
You guys have-
Recording? Oh, I look like an idiot. Hey guys, I'm here with Spurrier. Thank you for that nice intro and correction. Actually, by the time this comes out, the comic will hit stores, but it has released 4 or 5, depending on what day it is, prior at WonderCon.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you knew that because I didn't. I know it's out within the next week or so. We've had a whole bunch of them. They're kind of all gone now. So.
Yeah, I picked up the variant, which I'm hoping that you sign. He's probably not going to.
See how this interview goes. See how good your questions are.
But reading the comic, it's an interesting concept of. It almost feels like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, where certain people can create this friend or have this buddy that's with them, and that's kind of the case. Most people seem to have gods or partners, and the powers of them is the exchange of money, almost, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, oh gosh. Well, we've spoken before. The stories I tend to write are very, very difficult to define in short.
They're amazing and awesome and unique.
But yeah, unique is the right. Thank you. So there are kind of 2 descriptions I give for God Shaper. The first one is very, very short, and it's the story of a man without a god and a god without a man traveling together across the Midwest on their way to a music festival. Simple.
Yes.
The longer version, and my God, I mean longer, so brace yourself.
Let's do this.
Is it's set in a world where in 1958 the laws of physics broke, technology no longer works, everybody woke up the next morning to find that they are accompanied through life by their own personal god. And it's something which it defines certain roles in their lives. It's partly the technology surrogate, so the things that once we would have used technology for, like vehicles and light and fire and all the rest of it, now your god does that stuff for you.
Yeah.
It's also a fashion statement. People become very, very vain about their gods because this is a thing that accompanies you wherever you go. Most importantly, as you mentioned, it's your bank account. The bigger your god is, the more wealthy you are. The smaller your god is, the poorer you are. If you want to pay somebody, you pray to their god, it expands in size, yours shrinks in size. So it's a whole world.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
And they could steal, technically, not money, but your god's powers. And
oh yeah, there's all sorts
I'm not going to get into that detail, but that was a sad moment.
Yeah, it's not nice. But then the central character is a guy called N.A. He's one of the very few people in this world who does not have a god. And so he's incapable of possessing any wealth. He's an outlaw, a sort of
he's a drifter.
Yeah, he can't own anything. But what he can do is reshape other people's gods for them.
Yes.
And so because these people are all very vain about their gods, because you constantly want your god to have the best superpowers available, god shapers are in hot demand. But they're unwanted. They're seen as dirty. They're kind of a servant underclass.
Bums.
Yeah.
Which is a dress which made me laugh. It's like, oh, this guy paid me to tell you to get a job. I was like, oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, and there is no capitalist society in history which has not relied upon an underclass of repressed and prejudiced servants. And that's the Shapers. And the only ace card that he's got is that he has made friends with this mysterious little guy, a little god called Bud, who is the only god in the world who does not have a believer of his own. And nobody knows how it's possible. How does he exist? He shouldn't be possible. But they're just not interested in solving these mysteries. All they want to do is play their music and get to a music festival in San Francisco. It's kind of cool. It's just a sweet drifty, itinerant story about these two friends getting into scrapes in a really strange world.
Now, what inspired you? This seems like, I'm sorry to say this, but typical you, having a few drinks and someone's like, and you're like, it would be a great idea, and you just started to go down that route.
Kinda. It's my approach to, there's two approaches to storytelling. One is you create a story and then it's either in the real world or you define the world around it. Quite frequently what I'll do, especially with Boom, because they love this stuff, is the initial idea will be something that makes a world, something that defines a world. And it's difficult to talk about this without sounding really boring, because you end up talking about economics, which nobody really wants to talk about. It's very, very dull. But to create a world in which you can tell endless stories, the world needs to be functional. And in order to be functional, it needs to have an exciting, interesting, different economy, which is why, in this case, the idea was literally, how would it be if our economy functioned on metaphysics rather than physics? As soon as you start thinking, you go down the route, you realize that there are ramifications, there's a whole thing about vanity, status, all the rest of it. And then you kind of push that to one side. I've created a world, now I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to concentrate on these two little guys who are having adventures. And that's how you do it.
Well, you explained it to us at Comic-Con that usually what you like to do with stories is like, it doesn't matter how we got here. We're involved, we're in here, and this is what I'm going to tell you guys. Is that going to be the same case with this comic book?
Very much so. In fact, there's kind of a recurring joke. So I mentioned that the God character, Bud, nobody knows how he exists. And nobody really understands what went wrong in 1958. Why did the world change? Why did the laws of physics break? And so at frequent intervals in our story, our central characters get the opportunity to start solving these mysteries. And they're like, no, I don't want to solve these mysteries. I want to play my music. I'm here to become a musician. So it's kind of funny. Stop me because I'll waffle for hours, but one of the themes in this story is when all the big questions are answered, when there is nothing to think about, nothing to strive for, the truth of the metaphysics in your universe, culture stagnates because people stop creating, people stop caring. You end up with this very greedy, stagnant, vanilla, beige culture, and that's what we've got in this. It's this 1950s lazy rockabilly greaser vibe, very boring, and NA is part of a very vibrant counterculture called Cantic, which is this extraordinary punky, jazzy, bluesy, everything you can imagine-y fusion of angry countercultural aesthetics. The beauty is that I've created this whole counterculture and the artist has come up with this amazing aesthetic. Neither of us knows what the fuck that music sounds like, and we don't have to, because when a reader reads it, they're imagining something different.
I'm imagining jazz, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
It's like...
But isn't that funny? Because somebody else is like, no, it's grunge. It's obviously grunge.
No, did that really happen today? I swear to God, I was like, this is jazz.
Isn't that great?
That's so interesting. Now, here's it. Why take place in this particular, era, but obviously a dystopian era?
Well, the fun thing for me is, because it's technically set in the modern day, it's just a modern day that changed 50 years earlier. So we've sort of deviated. I think you can say a lot of interesting stuff about this world by looking at how it might be if something had changed in the past. Look, we know we're living in a world where the alternate right is on the rise. Prejudice has never been more of a thing in the world, and it seems to me the right time to be talking about the human disposition for repression, prejudice. Everybody needs somebody to blame for their shit.
Yes.
And in this story, that's NA. And everywhere he goes, he is identified as a man without a god. That's the thing that makes him him, and he hates that. He's like, well, I'm a human too, I'm a creator. I want to be a musician. I want people to look at me and go, there's that amazing musician. Instead, they just go, you have no god, you're suck. And that's a story I think we can all relate to. We don't get to control how people look upon us.
And on top of it, I could be mistaken, but our lead character, he's gay. Or bisexual?
He's kind of he just really likes sex.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's particularly fussed about who it's with. That's a whole other thing. I refuse to go into the sort of nature-nurture stuff. I don't know that anybody knows those answers, but certainly in his case, he leads a very lonely life. And so he will take affection wherever he can get it.
Which is by obviously a stranger god just walking around needing someone.
Yep.
I'm not going to spoil the ending because the ending was jaw-dropping and caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie. But how many issues is this series? Because you did tell us there's a beginning, middle, and end in every story that you have.
Always. Well remembered. I'm very impressed. 6 will be the first arc, and then there'll be more after that.
Really? So, but this still yet to not be an ongoing, correct?
Well, it's funny. I mean, it's something we've talked about before, I think. If you come out the gates and say, this is absolutely a limited series, then there's a certain snobbery in comics distribution. We're like, well, I'm not buying that.
Fair enough.
I'm not going, which is, the intention is for this to run and run, but I can tell you for sure that the first arc will be 6 issues long.
And what can we expect in the next few issues to come?
Madness. Pure madness. It's lovely stuff. We get muddled up with some organized crime. I mean,
seems like it already started right at the beginning.
Some of that, I think. So, I mean, you envisage a world where the transfer of wealth is done through prayer, and you start thinking, well, how would extortion work? What would that look like? How would theft work? And there's all sorts of interesting stuff like that.
We experienced theft slightly in the first issue.
Yeah. Lots more of that. Lots more crazy musical stuff. We get some new characters joining the mix, and then the mysteries start bubbling up, and there's I think it's at the end of 2 or 3. I think it's in a 3. There's an absolutely mind-blowing cliffhanger, which I'm not even going to talk about, but it's awesome. It's really cool.
Sounds good. Heading into art, it's very light, bright, very beautiful. Really light compared to Weaver's, like almost on a completely different spectrum. Is the comic going to consistently be this bright?
You'd have to ask the artist. His name is, it's not his real name, but he goes by the name Jonas Goonface, and he's mad as a box of badgers, but just so talented.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, he just kind of came out of nowhere. Exquisite style. He's got storytelling coming out of his armpits, but he's just extremely stylish. Super trendy, super bright, super surreal. What's awesome is that he can also do really dark, creepy stuff, which we will increasingly see as the series progresses.
All right, sounds good. Of course, last but not least, where can we find you on the internet?
SimonsPurrier.co.uk, or I am just Cy Spurrier on Twitter.
All right, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else, any good memories you had?
Basically, the whole time we were here is nothing but a good memory.
It was really relaxing this time.
Like, a lot of random opportunities happened for us, and everything was pretty much on the ball. Opportunities kept going our way.
And meeting a lot of new people and people that we tried to reach out to and we weren't able to get a hold of, but just so happened to bump into. That was really great about it. I know a lot of people tagged us and they were like, hey, they wanted to meet us, they wanted to meet up with us. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. So we're really sorry to everybody that we tried to at least meet up with.
I mean, we're always on the move, so if you find us on the floor, stop us.
Yeah, by all means. We didn't have pins or stickers this year, but next time we're doing that live feed, that's gonna be the good old time. I'm not gonna lie. What else can we talk about, man? Parking here sucked.
Yeah, parking here sucks.
Dude, if you're a freaking annual pass owner, park at Disney and walk over here.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad of a walk. It's like a 5-minute walk for us.
It was. I think Pumbaa's about a 10 or 15.
Doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't at all. Because it's just straight. It's just straight down the street. Any advice for anybody for next year? What I will say is
wear comfortable shoes at all times.
Yes, I'm wearing my Pumas, so I'm nice and good. But I will say, with food-wise, you really want to make sure to watch it. Man, I paid like $18, no joke, $18 for peanut butter and toast with granola, honey, strawberry, and banana. But that was $5, fine. But then I got the acai bowl, and they tried to charge me like $13 for it.
Yeah, and the pizza place that we went to, it was good, but $10 for 2 slices and a drink.
Was it 10?
Yes.
Oh, with the drink though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think Tiffany and I are just gonna hit up Little Caesars after this.
Yeah, Little Caesars.
But I do suggest trying to find the cheapest places and make sure to go with your friends, enjoy yourself. Venture outside.
I remember a moment when I walked by Flash Gordon and he remembered my name.
There you go.
That was awesome.
Tiffany.
I was like, oh my God. And then the theme song came on.
I was gonna say, did you turn around and go, Flash? As you like float towards him, savior of the universe.
Wind is blowing in his hair just randomly.
Dude, we actually saw a Flash Gordon t-shirt. We should have bought it, man.
Yeah, but he wasn't here today. He was there yesterday, but I didn't even know he was gonna be here at the con.
I do suggest buying the 3-day pass. 3-day pass is definitely worth it. There's a lot of stuff that you'll be able to experience. We're actually missing out right now on the Judas contract, the world premiere of it. But we did get to do red carpet stuff, which was awesome. And then I finally got to meet one of my idols, Kevin Smith.
Yes, you did.
And
Thanks to me.
Yes, technically thanks to Tiffany.
And we got to meet Jeff Garlin, Wendi McLendon, and who else? Jenny Elfman from Dharma and Greg.
Spurrier. I can't even remember.
Kevin Eastman.
Kevin Eastman, we do have an interview coming up with him extremely soon.
We got to take photos with him and got some stuff signed.
Yes, we did. Do you want to show your backpack real quick?
They won't see it. They won't be
They'll
able to
see
see
it.
it. I already took a photo of it so that you can check my Instagram.
Yeah, so go ahead and check out our Instagram and see all our good fun. The white stain on my shirt is not what you think it is.
It is what you think it is.
Shut up, you dick. Well, now with it's concluded, man, I'm not gonna lie. This is the most depressing time for me in my life.
Yeah. I just realized now things have changed, that usually Sundays are usually the not so packed days, but now I think everyone's
They
like
sold out this year.
Yeah, I feel like everyone knows that Sunday's like the time to go because people tend to lower their prices.
Yeah. And you can haggle a lot, especially if you have cash. But yeah, this is my depressing time because it's such a high for us when we come to the convention, and now it's going to be
go
a
back to our
reality.
normal, boring lives.
Yes, reality is going to set in, and it's going to hurt a little bit. But I do look forward to meeting everybody that watches this. So go ahead, if you ever see us at a convention, our next one is San Diego Comic-Con. Go ahead and say hi. We'll have pins, we'll have stickers, we'll have a whole bunch of good old goodies for you guys.
Well, no, we have WeirdCon coming next.
We do. WeirdCon is in May. So go ahead and purchase your WeirdCon tickets at weirdcon.com. It is $75 for the entire weekend. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I actually think it might be on Wednesday as well, too. I could be wrong, though. And, of course, you'll be at the Last Day on Alderaan party, which I have my awesome pin that says Alderaan on
I
it.
have my pin too, but it's Sith Lord.
You got to get an Alderaan one now.
I got it for Christmas gift, okay?
Fine, whatevers. We miss everybody that originally was supposed to be with us. Aaron couldn't make it, unfortunately. So once again, this is a Tiffany and I adventure, man. And I'm not gonna lie, it's always great being able to do that. So I think with that being said, do you think it's time to put a lid on it, or do we got anything else?
I think that's pretty much it because we're gonna have interviews coming up. So.
We're gonna have a whole bunch of guests that are coming onto the podcast. A lot. Like a lot. So make sure to watch out for that. Of course, like I already said, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube under Comics After Dark. I'm Reno MTR, also known as Math Ratt, and as always,
Tiffany.
I didn't even give her the mic.
Yeah, didn't get me right. What a douche.
Till next time, you guys have a good one. Later. What I'm gonna try and do right now is watch out. No, don't go in front of it. Damn, I was gonna have Aaron zoom in on WonderCon. That's just gonna be your face. It's all good.